You wouldn't be willing to believe I'm not really Spider-Man and this is just some stupid college stunt, would you?
It's okay. Your secret is safe with me.
Well, I guess I don't have a choice, but if I start getting email telling me about some movie club, I'm coming back to get you.
That's what I've always liked about you, Peter. Your sense of humor.
You're doing that thing again, sounding like you've known me forever. Do I know you?
Yes and no. Whenever you're in trouble, you've wanted my help.
You mean, then you're saying you're...
That's right, Peter.
Well, you have the watchtower all abuzz with what you talked about with John and I.
Guys, I'm feeling like a third wheel here. What are you two talking about?
Joshua spoke with me about reading the Bible to help learn about God, and with one of the Justice League about how you can't be good enough to get to heaven.
What do you mean you can't be good enough? I thought that was what life was all about. You know, live a good life, go to heaven.
I'm afraid I thought the same thing. We fight a lot of bad guys. It's hard to believe we won't get to go to heaven for doing this.
Sadly, that's what a lot of people think.
Then what's the point? Why risk our lives for nothing? I need to know.
Well, how does anyone get into heaven?
That's a good question, but let me ask you one. Who's the best person you can think of?
What do you mean?
Morally speaking, who's the best?
Living or dead?
Either. How about Mother Teresa?
Yeah, she had a good reputation.
Okay, let's put her at the top of this business card. Who do you think is the worst person?
Well, Osama bin Laden turned out pretty bad and he had horrible fashion sense, but you know, there are other...
Hitler, Stalin, Lex Luthor.
Pick one.
Hitler.
Okay, we'll put him at the bottom. So we have Mother Teresa at the top and Hitler at the bottom. Where do you think you fall on this scale?
Boy, that's a tough one. How about you, Soups?
I guess in the middle.
Modest, but okay. And you, Pete?
How about right under Soups? So, what did we win?
Nothing. But I'll tell you how you stack up in God's eyes.
Okay, this should be good. I hope.
I'm not so sure I want to hear my score.
Actually, this business card doesn't represent the entire scale. You say you're both about here in the middle, and Mother Teresa is at the top.
Sounds about right.
Sure.
But to get a better feel for how high God's actual standard is, imagine that we place this card at the base of this building. God's moral standard is the very top of this building, over 100 stories up.
Whoa. Are you saying that to God, Mother Teresa and Hitler are essentially the same?
Oh no, Hitler was horribly evil. Mother Teresa did a lot of good. It's not the same.
So, what are you saying?
My point is this. Mother Teresa, in her own goodness, is no closer to bridging the gap to God than Hitler. They're both sinners, and both on their own merits are separated from God.
So, you're saying that no one can make it?
Not on their own. No one is even close. God's standard is perfection, and you wouldn't want it any other way.
What do you mean I wouldn't want it any other way?
You wouldn't want the universe run by someone who wasn't perfectly holy and perfectly just.
Why not?
Because it would offend your God-given sense of justice. Would you want a universe where crime went unpunished, where evil reigned unopposed? God has to punish sin, because if he doesn't, he lets all creation be sabotaged. How would it have been if, after the Holocaust, God said to Hitler, "That's okay, Adolf. We all make mistakes. Don't worry about it."
But everyone isn't Hitler.
No, but everyone is a rebel against God. It isn't mass murder that destroys the world. It's selfishness, resentment, envy, pride, all the daily sins of the heart.
But we've all felt those things. We're human.
Yes.
It just doesn't seem right that God sees everyone the same way.
Yeah, some people are worse than others.
And God will judge them rightly. But that's the point. Everyone is already under God's judgment because everyone has violated his moral law. On what basis are you going to stand before a perfect and holy God and say you've been good enough?
That's unsettling.
Humanity lacks a compass to guide their behavior. People are cut off from God, so they've lost their sense of how terrible sin really is. They live in a sinful world and it almost seems normal, but to God it's grotesque. God is holy and just in an absolute sense. Humanity doesn't have any point of comparison with that. That's why people continually try to water down God's holiness.
But I thought God was forgiving.
God is forgiving. God wants to forgive people more than anything in the world to restore them to Himself.
He wants to forgive us but can't because He's holy and just? You're losing me.
What I'm saying is that God's desire to forgive doesn't cancel out His perfect justice. Someone has to pay the penalty for sin. God's justice demands it.
That sounds like a catch-22 of the worst kind.
So what has to happen to get us back to God?
God had two options. He could let people pay for their own sin, resulting in
Humanity being separated from Him forever.
That's not a good one. What's the other option?
or God could pay the penalty Himself.
How?
He is God. The Creator is greater than the creation. For the Creator to take the penalty of death Himself instead of those He created satisfies perfect justice.
Why would God do that?
Now that's the question God has wanted all humanity to find out. Because He loves you that much.
Wow.
Talk about dramatic effects.
John, go ahead.
There was an explosion just a few blocks from your position.
Spider-Man and I heard it. We'll go investigate.
I'm sending Green Lantern and Flash to back you up.
We'll meet them there. Superman out.
It's okay. We'll finish this later.
You bet we will. You have my attention meter pegged off the chart, and that ain't easy to do.
That goes double for me.